Hey there, welcome back to The Simple Truth with Stuart. Feeling stuck in a rut like you're not reaching your full potential? Today we're tackling the power of a growth mindset. This episode is your personal transformational guide, helping you shift from a fixed mindset that limits your possibilities to a growth mindset that unlocks your true potential. Get ready to learn powerful strategies to embrace challenges, celebrate learning, and watch your goals become achievable. Let's make over your mindset. One of the big things that I have seen with so many people that I coach, that I go through trainings, and people that I try and entice to come into trainings is their mindset. And your mindset is an extremely powerful tool. It's a tool that, well, if you don't want to wake up or get out of bed in the morning, you've got the mindset to go, no, and you'll remain in bed all day. If you've got the mindset that, hey, I'm not going to be successful, well, guess what? The chances are you're not going to be successful. However, if you've got the mindset that you can succeed and you're going to live a life by design, well, if you start to believe and you really start to have that type of mindset, you're going to see the path ahead of you is actually going to be quite a powerful path, and you're going to see the rewards. But how do you do that? How do you have that mindset that allows you to grow? How do you have that mindset that allows you to move forward in life? Well, that is exactly what I want to talk about today. And I call it a mindset makeover. And it's changing the mindset from what we refer to as a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. And when you make that particular transition, what you're actually going to find is you're going to see that you're going to almost unleash your potential to actually achieve what you felt in the past, I couldn't achieve it. Now, one of the big things is I've heard this term fixed mindset, I've heard this term growth mindset, but what is it? How do you define it? Well, I've actually done a bit of research to try and simplify it to make people to understand it. And the two phrases that came up to help explain it, a fixed mindset, it's when you believe that your abilities are set. So a fixed mindset, you believe what you're capable of doing, that is it, and you're going to remain there. There's no, I can learn something new, I want to learn something new. It remains at that level. And you can actually see how technology changes. Having a fixed mindset can actually make you slide back in life. Because it's not that you're moving backwards, you're actually standing still and the world is actually going forward. So that's the fixed mindset. It's believing that your abilities are set where you are. However, with a growth mindset, you believe that your abilities can be developed. And this is really what I want each and every one of you to believe in yourself, that the skill set that you have now, the knowledge that you have now, you can increase on that. You can master it. You can actually take it to a level where people will be looking at you and going, wow, how did you do that? And that's the growth mindset that we want to actually go through. You see, working with clients, one of the big things that happens in the world around us is we actually get stuck in a day-to-day monotonous life. And I know it sounds horrible, but we do get stuck in the activities that we're doing, and we actually almost go on autopilot. And as soon as we go on to autopilot, ultimately what happens, we get into that fixed mindset. We actually just start leveling out and just doing the jobs. And for many clients, when I sit back and I ask them the question, tell me about your day, tell me about your week, they actually give me a bit of a blank look. They kind of go, I can't remember it. And as soon as somebody says to me, well, I can't remember what I did in the day and I can't remember what I did in the week, I know that they have got a level of a fixed mindset, and I need to change that. Because when you get into that growth mindset, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be seeing the new activities that you'll do every single week that's going to move you forward and closer to your goal. So making sure that you don't fall into that trap. And I want you to just reflect on yourself. Can you you remember everything that you did over the last 5 days? Write it down. Can you remember everything that you did over the last 5 days? And if you're battling, then ask yourself the question, have I just been running my life on autopilot? I want to get out of that. And I know you want to get out of that. So we're going to actually show you how to take those steps out. You see, one of the big things when we start to get out of the autopilot mode and we're starting to get into control, we're able to have more inspiration, more motivation to do things. We actually are geared to almost, I want to say, embrace certain challenges and opportunities that come in front of us. You see, when you recognize the life that you're living every single day, and I'm referring to the reflection of your life that you're living every single day, you're going to suddenly see, hey, wait a minute, I learned this or I was unable to do this. Let me actually see how I can actually improve on that particular skill so that next week or next day, I'll be able to face it as an opportunity and not as a challenge. I'll be able to almost get that excitement. I can't wait until I do that again because I know I could knock it out of the park. So when you start going through that on your reflections, you're going to start seeing this growth element that's going to start coming inside of you. What it's also going to do is as you start going through life, you're going to actually see, hey, there's an opportunity. When you get into that autopilot mode, suddenly autopilot, if something comes in front of you and you go, I can't make these calls or I can't meet with this particular person because there's a level of fear because it's the same outcome every single time, that autopilot, it actually starts to stop and block you. When you actually can reflect back and say, hey, you know what? I want to face that particular challenge. I actually want to overcome it. I know the last time it felt like a bit of a failure, but I actually learned something new and I want to put that into practice. I remember when I did my first in real estate, I did a seller's presentation, first seller's presentation I ever did. And it was an absolute shambles. There was no sequence to the actual event. My clients were looking at me going, what are you talking about? And in fact, they stopped me halfway and said, you know what? We've actually made our decision. We're going with a different agency that was here just before you. And that really, really sunk home because that created a huge level of fear. But instead of me sitting there going, oh, now I'm going to fear the next seller's presentation, I actually sat back. I had a look at it. I learned from it. I spoke to people around me. I learned, I got that growth mindset. And the next seller's presentation, I closed a sole mandate. And it was that growth that actually brought me back. You see, that was a setback, but I bounced back. I bounced back in a big way. And that started to ignite my business. And really, by doing this, I was actually able to take that seller's presentation and repeat it over and over. Every time I did one, I would reflect back on it and go, hey, how could I do it better? And I would learn something new, a new way, a new negotiation skill that came into it until it just got to a point where it was like having a conversation. I was 100% in control of that conversation. And in fact, it was almost like I had my clients hypnotized because everything that I was directing towards, they would just accept. And then they would go through and they'd actually sign. Now, I say that in a general term. Yes, there were certain clients that was a challenge, but that's what I wanted. I wanted to go through this and experience. So the benefit of having this growth mindset is when you reflect and you see those challenges, you can turn them into opportunities. You will actually look at all those failures and you'll say, what did I do wrong? What can I do better? And you'll actually find that you can actually start to move forward when you're actually doing that. Now, going through this particular mindset change, because for some, we've been having a fixed mindset for many, many years. And to move it to a growth mindset means that I've now got to go and sit in a training session. I've got to go and do some research. I've got to start doing, this time and all of this. You see, what happens is in this transition period, we start to create a lot of negative talk in our head. So as soon as you get to that point where you say, right, I need to learn something. But you know what? I'm tired today. Try and get yourself to the point where you're recognizing that negative talk, because that's what's preventing you from actually shifting across. You need to now sit there and go, right, I've accepted where I am right now. I know I want to go forward. The first step of my journey is to reflect back on the last 5 days, to reflect back what I fear and what can I do to take away that fear. What can I do to take those setbacks and actually make them into bounce backs where they start going forward? And it starts with that negative self-talk. You need to crush it. You need to turn it around. When you suddenly go, I'm going to do a training session, you go, hey, wait a minute, it's a training session. That means I can overcome this. That means it's going to give me the excitement to be able to do this presentation. So you've got to take that negative self-talk and actually crush it and make it into a positive self-talk. Now, when you've got this process and you've managed to crush this negative self-talk, one of the ways that I've found that becomes an easier way is not to always look at the outcome. So for me, there was always, hey, the outcome of doing a seller's presentation was getting the rights and the mandate to market a certain property. If I kept on focusing on that outcome, I actually forget about all the steps to get to that particular point. So what I actually did was I said, right, I'm actually not worried about that outcome. That outcome will come naturally. I want to make sure that there's, let's say, for example, there's 5 steps in order to get to signing of that particular agreement. What is step 1? What can I do to master step 1? And then I learn and I start to embrace it and I put it into practice. Then I went to step 2, step 3, step 4 to step 5. You see, ultimately what I was doing, I was focusing on the process. I was focusing on those little steps as I started going through them to get closer and closer to that particular outcome. Why? I knew the outcome was going to come anyway. Because I had that mindset, I know that I can achieve it. I just need to focus on the process right now. So when you start looking at changing and going to this growth mindset, don't look at the outcome of what it can produce, but look at the process to get to that particular outcome. Break it down into small steps and slowly go through that particular process. And as you're going through those processes, I remember my first time when I went in, my step 1 was having the first conversation with a brand new client. That was my step 1. And I wanted to make sure that I could build rapport with that client. And as soon as I could build a rapport with that client, it meant that step 2 would be that much easier. So I did a lot of focus on step 1. And when I met with clients, and within 3 to 5 minutes, suddenly we built rapport and we could have a conversation like we're old buddies. I celebrated that success inside. I had a smile on my face because I knew that I'd actually achieved my step 1. You see that little process? I'd done it. I'd actually managed to overcome that fear of just building that initial relationship. So when you're going through this particular process, remember that self-talk is big. Don't focus on the outcome. Look at the processes. And each time you go through those particular processes and it works, celebrate it. Actually have a smile on your face, recognize it. In fact, I used to get back into the car and I used to reflect and write it down and say, that was actually amazing. This is what I did. I asked this question. Reflecting on it was my level of celebrations. You've got to celebrate them because we remember the happy times. This is something. We remember the happy times, and you can reflect back in your life. Anything that was at a level of an emotional high, an emotional of happiness, you tend to remember them. You went on holiday, first time on an airplane, anything, getting your driver's license, the first time you went out on a date, you kind of remember these happy times if there were happiness in it. So that's what you want to do is you want to celebrate it because you're going to remember it. And it's that remembering where suddenly your subconscious goes, hey, that was actually good. Let's do another one. Let's grow some more. So that's where you can actually start to get through there. Now, once you've get into this particular point. And as you can see, it's a simple little step as you're going through. You are going to start to unleash what I refer to as an immense amount of power in a growth mindset. You're going to start getting this excitement because it started small, but now you're going to see there is unlimited possibilities. You can, in fact, start doing anything. You can set yourself a goal and you can actually achieve those particular goals. And once you achieve those goals, you're setting up the next goal and the next goal and the next goal. But one thing that I've found is if your goals do not have clarity, if they're goals that you battle to explain to somebody, ultimately what happens is you're going, well, I know I have a goal, but I don't know what the goal is. I'm going to be doing things that can actually start to hinder. And it starts putting you back into that fixed mindset because you believe in yourself that, hey, wait a minute, this is actually just nonsense. I'm never going to achieve anything. But it's because the goals do not have clarity. You see, when I was looking to list or get a listing of a property, my outcome that I was desiring was to get a sole mandate for that property. That was my desired outcome. It was crystal clear. I could visualize the property. I could actually see the property being listed. I could visualize taking clients through the property. I could almost visualize signing a deal on that particular property. I could see myself earning the commission on that particular property. I could see that commission giving me the right to do something with my family. Can you see the clarity that I had in it? If it's just, well, I just want a listing, I just want another property, but you don't have that clarity that supports it, you'll then find that it starts to go down. So when you start looking at these goals, make sure that you've got the clarity. There's the good old acronym, the SMART acronym, making sure that it's specific, it's measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Because when you put that into those particular goals, the clarity, it just becomes a little bit clearer. Now, one thing that's going to happen when you start setting these goals is you need to set these goals that pushes your boundaries. You need to make sure that you're not keeping it within your current capabilities. So, for instance, and I'm going to refer back to real estate and listing properties. If your comfort zone is to list one property a month, madness, one property a month, you need to say, I want to see how I can list one property a week. What it does, it pushes you outside of your comfort zone because it means in order to list one property means I need to do more appointments. I need to speak to more people. I need to have a bigger incoming funnel that I can start to market to. There's things that you've got to do that's outside of your comfort zone. And it's going outside of your comfort zone that really starts to open up the growth mindset because it means that you've got to start learning something new. So when you're setting those particular goals, make sure that you do push that boundary just a little bit so that you can have that ongoing of the growth. And when you start doing this, you're going to start to embrace what we refer to as a long life journey of learning. A long life journey of learning. You're going to start to love to learn because when you're starting to achieve goals that you've pushed a certain boundary line, it really makes you feel good. And when you reflect back, you go, that was actually amazing. I want to do it again. You're going to start getting into this motion of just wanting to achieve goals and starting to push yourself going forward and forward. And ultimately, you're going to start to get to that point where you're looking for the pursuit of knowledge. You're looking for it all over the place. You're looking for it in people that you meet. You're looking for it in podcasts. You're looking for it in books. You're looking for it on the internet, Googling. You're actually looking for knowledge. You get into that pursuit of knowledge. And when you get there, it's an amazing place to be because every single day you want to learn something new. And that actually gives you a level of excitement. Now, you're going through this particular journey, and I can feel that you're getting to the point where you're going, I can do this, and I know that you can do this. But you need to make sure that you can sustain it. You can actually maintain this growth mindset. And the reason why I add this in is it can get to be a lonely journey. If you're doing it by yourself and you find the people around you have all got a fixed mindset and you're growing by yourself, you're really getting all that knowledge. But when you're sharing this information with people, they go, "Oh, not really interested. I don't need that information. No, I'm happy with where I am right now. I'm in a very much of a comfort zone. I don't want to disrupt anything." That can start to hinder you. And ultimately, what happens is your sustainability of maintaining that high level of a growth mindset starts to reduce and reduce and reduce. And ultimately, you start falling back into that fixed mindset without you even knowing it. So you've got to be very cautious about this. So there's a couple of things that you can do to make sure that you don't fall into that particular hole. The first one is you find an inspirational or a role model, somebody that you look up to, somebody who is running at an extremely high level in their life, and you can see that their guidance, the inspiration that they have actually motivates you towards them. Now, this individual, it can actually be anybody on the planet, by the way. It's somebody that really gives you that inspiration of where you're wanting to go in your journey of life. The second one is surrounding yourself with positive people. And this is so crucial. You see, life with everything that goes around us in our personal life, that creates a level of negativity. And some people feed off that negativity. They live in that negativity space. And ultimately, what they're going to do is they're going to share it with yourself. They'll tell you things that are bad, how bad the economy is going, how bad this is going, how bad this is going. And ultimately, when you start listening to that on an ongoing basis, it actually starts to bring you down. So you need to look at the people around you and you need to make sure that they're positive people. You find the positive people. And this you can do with things like coaches, social groups, networking groups, etc. And just by having those circle of individuals around you, you sharing your positive, you sharing your great news, you sharing what you've learned, they're going to do the exact same. So a big thing when you're looking for it is you listen to how people speak. When someone is talking about what they've just learned, what they've just implemented, how they have achieved something that they didn't believe that they could achieve it, then you know that you've identified the right circle of individuals and people, because they're the people that are in that positive space. They're actually starting to share that positivity, and that's going to help you to maintain and sustain this growth mindset that will actually happen. And we do have setbacks in our life. We do have times where something hits us on a personal level and it's really impactful and it can knock us all the way back. If you're going in this journey alone and that happens to you, it's the quickest way that you hit that plateau and remain in that fixed mindset. So that is the importance of having that network around you, that when something like that does happen on a personal level, you're able to almost get the compassion from them to bring you back. You share what you've experienced and it can bring you back. So it's so important as you're going through all of this. So just to summarize, what I've actually covered is the first one is just understanding that difference between that fixed, I can't do anything, my ability is what it is, to the growth. Hey, I actually want to develop it. I want to make it better. To the benefits of your growth mindset, just having that internal, it's actually going to make you breathe, by the way. Shifting that mindset is a big thing. Shared a couple of strategies with you where you can actually shift your mindset from that fixed through and starting to unleash that potential that each and every one of you has when you get to that growth mindset, and then just maintaining it, making sure that you can continue on this growth. I can tell you now, when you go on this reflection path, which is step one, seeing what you've done, reflected on those challenges that you've faced. Then go to step two, which is identifying what could you do better? What new skill can you learn? What new knowledge can you learn? When you start to embrace that, and then you take step 3, where you take that first activity, which was a setback, and you redo it, and it becomes a bounce back. It becomes something positive, something that was amazing, and you celebrate that. You're going to see that you're going to be on a journey of achieving your life by design. And that is what I want each and every one of you to do. I want you to basically wake up in the morning, have that personal inspiration to tackle the day in such a manner that you close the day remembering the day, reflecting on that day, and cannot wait for the next day ahead. Remember, a growth mindset is a key to unlocking your true potential. Embrace challenges, celebrate learning, and watch your growth explode. Stay tuned for more inspiring content to transform your mindset on The Simple Truth with Stuart.